The red dust of Mars swirled outside the windows of Deep Space Monitoring Station 7. Inside, Thomas Brown stared at his screen, rubbing his tired eyes. It was another quiet night shift, or at least it had been until 5 minutes ago. Now his heart was racing as he double-checked the readings. "Sir," Thomas called out, his voice echoing through the quiet control room. "You need to see this." Station Director Miller hurried over, coffee cup in hand. His eyes widened as he looked at the energy signatures flickering across the screen. The readings were like nothing they'd seen before. Massive power spikes beyond Pluto's orbit, far from any known human installations. "Get me Earth Defense Fleet Command," Miller ordered, already reaching for the secure comm unit. Now, aboard the EDF flagship Sentinel, Captain James Walker was just finishing his morning briefing when the alert came through. The bridge crew fell silent as the message from Mars played across their main screen. Unknown energy signatures detected in outer solar system. Magnitude suggests multiple large vessels. No match with known human signatures. Request immediate investigation. Walker stood up straight, his military training kicking in. Navigation, plot a course. Engineering, I want full power to our long-range sensors. Communications, alert the rest of the fleet. We move in 15 minutes. The Sentinel's engines hummed to life as the massive ship broke orbit around Earth. 2 other vessels, the Defender and the Guardian, fell into formation behind them. As they accelerated toward the outer solar system, the crew worked in focused silence, each person aware they might be heading toward humanity's first contact with alien life. 6 hours later, Walker stood in front of the main viewport, his face illuminated by the soft glow of distant stars. The sensors had picked up more detail now. They were definitely looking at ships. Hundreds of them. "Visual range in 30 seconds, Captain," the sensor officer reported. "Put it on the main screen," Walker ordered. "Maximum magnification." The image that appeared left everyone on the bridge speechless. A vast fleet of sleek, silver vessels hung motionless in space. Their designs were clearly alien, with smooth curves and strange geometries that no human architect had ever imagined. But something was wrong. Many of the ships showed signs of damage, and their normally bright hulls were dark and lifeless. "Sir," the communications officer spoke up, "we're receiving a signal. It's different from anything in our database, but the computer is attempting to translate." Walker nodded. "Put it through." The message that came through was broken and distorted, but its meaning was clear enough. Help. Trapped. Systems failing. Children aboard. "Life signs?" Walker asked sharply. "Confirmed, sir. Thousands of them. But their life support systems are showing critical strain. Whatever's holding them there, they can't break free on their own." Walker didn't hesitate. He'd trained for first contact scenarios, but none of the simulations had covered anything like this. Still, some things were universal. When someone needed help, you helped. "Send a message back," he ordered. "Tell them we're here to assist. Then get me Earth Command. We're going to need every ship we can get." As the message was sent, Walker studied the alien fleet more carefully. They were trapped in some kind of spatial distortion. His science officer called it a gravitational anomaly. Getting them out wouldn't be easy, but that didn't matter. This was humanity's moment to prove itself to the galaxy. "Sir," his first officer spoke quietly beside him, "this could be dangerous. We don't know anything about them." Walker smiled slightly. "No, we don't. But we know they need help, and that's enough. Besides," he added, looking at the massive fleet of stranded ships, "this is what humans do best, solving impossible problems and helping those in need." The response from Earth came faster than anyone expected. Within hours, ships from every nation were preparing to launch. It would be the largest rescue operation in human history, and humanity's first step onto the galactic stage. As Walker watched more Earth ships arriving, he felt a sense of pride. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together, ready to prove that even a young species from a small blue planet could make a difference in the vast expanse of space. Commander Lisa Reed stood in the airlock chamber of her engineering vessel, double-checking her suit seals. Through the thick window, she could see the massive alien ship floating nearby, its silver hull reflecting the distant sunlight. Her team of engineers waited behind her, each carrying specialized scanning equipment. "Remember," she said through the comm system, "we don't know what we'll find in there. Stay alert and stay together." The airlock cycled, and they pushed off toward the alien vessel. As they got closer, Lisa could see the strange markings on its hull, beautiful spiral patterns that seemed to glow faintly even though the ship's power was minimal. Their alien hosts met them at their own airlock. Lisa had been briefed about the luminaries' appearance, but seeing them in person still took her breath away. They were tall, elegant beings with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Their 4 eyes blinked in sequence as they greeted the human engineering team. The lead alien stepped forward. The translation device on Lisa's suit crackled to life. "Welcome, Earth friends. I am Head Engineer First Class. We are grateful for your help." Lisa nodded, trying to keep her excitement in check. "We're here to help. Can you show us your engine room?" As they floated through the massive ship, Lisa's team scanned everything. The luminary technology was incredibly advanced, but whatever had hit them had done serious damage. In the engine room, Lisa's eyes widened as she saw the quantum drive system. It was unlike anything humans had ever built. "This is amazing," she whispered, then turned to the luminary engineer. "What happened to your fleet?" The alien's skin darkened slightly, an expression of sadness. Lisa had learned, "We were fleeing from the swarm. They attacked without warning, used new weapon, trapped us here." Back aboard the human engineering vessel, Lisa's team gathered to share their findings. The situation was worse than they'd feared. The quantum drives of all 300 luminary ships had been completely disabled by some kind of targeted weapon. The aliens were stuck in normal space, unable to escape the gravitational anomaly that held them. "The good news," Lisa told Captain Walker over the video link, "is that we understand the basic principles of their technology. The bad news is that we can't fix it, at least not quickly enough. Their life support systems are failing. We have maybe 2 weeks before the situation becomes critical." Walker's face was grim on the screen. 2 weeks to save over 50,000 aliens. Any ideas? Lisa took a deep breath. "Actually, yes. We can't fix their drives, but we might be able to thaw them out. We'll need to develop new technology, combining our understanding of physics with their quantum systems. It's never been done before, but if anyone can do it, humans can." Walker finished, a small smile appearing on his face. "How many ships will you need?" "All of them," Lisa replied without hesitation. "Every ship Earth can spare. And we'll need to work around the clock." The next few days were a blur of activity. Lisa's team worked alongside the luminary engineers, combining human ingenuity with alien knowledge. The luminary were amazed at how quickly humans adapted to new concepts and found unconventional solutions. "Your people are remarkable," the head engineer told Lisa as they tested a prototype of the new quantum tether. "Most species would have seen our technology and given up. But humans, you see problems as challenges to overcome." Lisa smiled as she adjusted the power settings. "That's just who we are. We've spent our whole history solving problems and helping each other. We're not going to stop now just because the people who need help aren't from Earth." The prototype hummed to life, creating a stable quantum connection between the two ships. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As Lisa watched the energy readings stabilize, she felt a surge of pride. Humanity might be young compared to other species, but what they lacked in experience, they made up for in determination and creativity. A warning alarm from the long-range sensors interrupted her thoughts. Something was coming. Something big. The luminary engineers froze, their skin paling to an almost white color. The swarm, One of them whispered. They found us. The emergency alarm echoed through every human and luminary ship. The swarm was coming, and they had less than 24 hours before the enemy fleet arrived. Inside the main engineering bay of Earth's largest ship, Commander Lisa Reed paced back and forth, her mind racing. We need to work faster, she muttered, looking at the prototype quantum tether. The device had successfully moved a small scout ship, but scaling it up to save the massive luminary vessels was proving difficult. Marcus, her chief engineer, wiped sweat from his forehead as he adjusted the power settings. The energy requirements are enormous. We're pushing our reactors to their limits. The luminary head engineer floated nearby, all four eyes fixed on the complex calculations displayed on the main screen. Perhaps if we modify the frequency, the alien suggested, their silver skin pulsing with nervous energy. Lisa stopped pacing. What if we didn't try to power it all from our side? She turned to the luminary engineer. Your ship's quantum drives are damaged, but they still have power cores, right? The alien's skin brightened, their version of a smile. Yes, we could create what you humans call a feedback loop. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Human and luminary engineers worked side by side, combining their technologies in ways neither species had imagined before. They stripped down equipment, rebuilt power systems, and wrote new computer programs to control it all. Captain Walker's voice came through the comm system. Commander Reed, status update. The swarm fleet has accelerated. We now have 18 hours. Lisa looked at her team, saw the determination in their eyes. We're making progress, Captain. But we need more time. Time is something we don't have. Walker replied grimly. Do what you can. The defense fleet will buy you every minute possible. The words hung heavy in the air. Everyone knew what that meant. Earth's ships would fight to protect them, even against a technologically superior enemy. Marcus stepped forward, holding up a modified power coupling. Commander, look at this. If we reconfigure the quantum tether to use multiple smaller connections instead of one big one. Lisa's eyes widened as she understood. It was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to move the huge ships all at once, they could spread the load across dozens of smaller connection points. Like a spider web, she said, excitement building in her voice. Multiple small threads instead of one big rope. The luminary ships can help power it from their end, and our ships can guide them out. The luminary engineer's skin was practically glowing now. Yes, and if we synchronize the power pulses, they quickly drew a complex diagram in the air, their fingers leaving trailing lines of light. For the next 12 hours, every available engineer worked to modify the rescue ships. They installed the new web pattern quantum tethers, tested power systems, and ran countless simulations. There was no time for proper safety protocols or lengthy tests. They had to trust their calculations and their instincts. Finally, with just 6 hours remaining before the swarm's arrival, they were ready to test the system on one of the larger luminary ships. Lisa stood at the control station, her hands steadied despite her exhaustion. All ships report in. One by one, the 15 Earth vessels confirmed they were in position around the target ship. Each one had multiple quantum tether points activated, creating a complex web of energy connecting them to the massive alien vessel. Power-up sequence starting, Lisa announced. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3. The web of energy began to glow, visible even in the darkness of space. The luminary ship's own power core hummed to life, adding its strength to the network. Pull now, Lisa ordered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering speed, the massive alien ship began to move. It was working. They were actually pulling it free of the gravitational anomaly. Cheers erupted across every ship's comm channel. The luminary crew's joy was evident in the bright pulses of light that flashed across their skin. But there was no time to celebrate. The swarm was still coming, and they had hundreds more ships to save. Lisa turned to her tired but determined team. "One down," she said with a small smile. "Now let's save the rest." Captain Walker watched from the Sentinel's bridge as 50 Earth ships moved into position around the stranded Luminary fleet. The sight was incredible. Vessels from every nation on Earth working together, their quantum tether webs creating beautiful patterns of light in space. "Status report," he called out, his eyes fixed on the main display. 23 Luminary ships successfully moved so far, sir, his first officer replied. "Commander Reed's teams are working on the next group." "But," he hesitated. "But what?" "The swarm fleet will be here in less than 2 hours. At our current pace, we'll only have rescued half the Luminary ships by then." Walker nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to work faster. Contact all ships. Tell them to prepare for simultaneous multiple ship extraction." The communications officer's eyes widened. "Sir," Commander Reed said, attempting more than 3 ships at once could overload the tether systems. "I know what she said." Walker's voice was firm. "But we're out of options. Send the order." Across the rescue fleet, ships began repositioning themselves. Instead of working in small groups, they were now spreading out to cover larger sections of the trapped Luminary fleet. The quantum tether webs grew more complex, interconnecting in ways they hadn't been designed for. In the engineering control room, Commander Reed saw the new pattern forming and immediately grabbed her comm unit. "Captain, this is extremely dangerous. The power requirements will be met," Walker interrupted. "Your team built these systems to be stronger than necessary. Now it's time to push them to their limits." Lisa looked at her displays, then at the determined faces of her team. "Understood, sir. All engineering teams, prepare for maximum power output. Luminary ships, stand by to sync your power cores on my mark." The next 30 minutes were the most intense of the entire operation. Earth ships strained their reactors to power multiple quantum tethers at once. The space around them was filled with webs of energy, connecting human vessels to 4, 5, sometimes 6 Luminary ships at a time. Warning alarms blared constantly as systems were pushed far beyond their safety limits. 2 human ships had to disconnect when their power cores nearly overheated, but others immediately moved to take their place. "First group of simultaneous extractions complete," someone shouted over the comm. The cheer that went up was cut short by the next announcement. "Swarm fleet detected on long-range sensors. 1 hour until contact." Walker stood at his command station, coordinating the massive effort. "How many ships left?" 87 Luminary vessels still trapped, sir. But we're moving them faster now. The multiple extraction technique is working." Suddenly, a massive energy surge rippled through the quantum tether web. 3 Earth ships lost power, their lights flickering out. A Luminary vessel began to drift, its own power core destabilizing. "Emergency teams to Sector 4. Lisa's voice crackled over the comm. "Reroute power through the secondary systems." The response was immediate. Other ships adjusted their positions, taking up the slack in the web. The drifting vessels were quickly stabilized. It was a dance of incredible complexity, requiring split-second decisions and perfect coordination between human and Luminary crews. "Sir," the sensor officer's voice was urgent. "The swarm fleet has increased speed. New arrival estimate, 35 minutes. Walker's jaw tightened. "How many ships still trapped?" 42, sir. "We're moving them as fast as we can. But we're not going to make it in time," Walker finished. He stared at the tactical display, watching the swarm fleets approach. They were out of time, but they couldn't leave those 42 ships behind. He pressed the fleet-wide comm button. "All ships, this is Captain Walker. The swarm will be here soon. Any vessel with civilians aboard is ordered to retreat with the rescued Luminary ships. All military vessels will stay to protect the remaining extraction operations." There was a moment of silence, then responses began flooding in. Not a single Earth ship broke formation. Military or civilian, they all stayed, determined to finish what they'd started. Walker smiled proudly. "Very well. Battle stations, everyone. Let's show the swarm what happens when they threaten people under human protection. The swarm ships emerged from the darkness like massive black shadows, their hulls covered in sharp, angular patterns that seemed to absorb light. There were hundreds of them, their formations spreading across space like a dark cloud. On the Sentinel's bridge, Captain Walker watched as the enemy fleet approached. Time until they reach weapons range. 10 minutes, sir, his tactical officer replied. We've counted 320 swarm vessels. They're bigger than anything we've ever built. Walker nodded calmly. Size isn't everything. Status of the rescue operation. 28 luminary ships still trapped. Commander Reed reports they need at least 15 more minutes. Time they didn't have. Walker looked at his tactical display, studying the position of every ship. The Earth fleet was spread thin, trying to maintain the quantum tether web while also forming a defensive line. Suddenly, the main screen lit up. A face appeared, if you could call it that. The swarm commander was an insectoid being with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked as it spoke. Primitive humans, the translation computer rendered its clicks and whistles into English. You interfere in matters beyond your understanding. Surrender the luminary fleet, and we may spare your vessels. Walker stood straight, his voice firm. This is Captain James Walker of Earth. The luminary are under our protection. Leave now, or we will be forced to defend them. The swarm commander's mandibles clattered, perhaps their version of laughter. You think your primitive weapons can stand against us? We have conquered species far more advanced than yours. Maybe, Walker replied, but you've never faced humans before. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. All ships, battle formation Delta. Civilian vessels, continue the rescue operation. Military ships, prepare to engage. In the engineering control room, Commander Reed and her team worked frantically to speed up the extraction process. Warning lights flashed everywhere as they pushed the quantum tethers beyond their safety limits. Power Core 3 is failing. Marcus shouted over the noise of straining equipment. We can't maintain the web. Lisa's mind raced. They needed more power, but every system was already at its limit. Then she saw the luminary head engineer staring at a display, their skin pulsing with rapid color changes. What is it? She asked. You've thought of something. The alien turned to her. The weapon they used to trap us. We could reverse it. Use the gravitational anomaly itself as a power source. It was crazy. Dangerous. Probably impossible. Lisa grinned. Perfect. Show me how. The first shots were fired as Lisa's team began their modifications. Swarm energy weapons lit up space with deadly green beams, but the Earth ships were ready. They broke formation in ways the swarm didn't expect, using the gravitational anomaly to make their movements unpredictable. Multiple hits on our shields, the tactical officer reported, but they're holding. The swarm weapons aren't as effective inside the anomaly. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The swarm's own trap was working against them. Their larger ships were struggling to maneuver in the distorted space, while Earth's smaller, more agile vessels darted between them, landing hit after hit. But it wasn't enough. There were too many swarm ships, and more were arriving. 3 Earth vessels had already lost power, their crews evacuating to nearby ships. The defensive line was beginning to break. Sir, the sensor officer's voice was excited. Massive energy spike from the luminary ships. Walker turned to the main screen just in time to see it happen. The quantum tether web suddenly blazed with new power, drawing energy from the very anomaly that had trapped the luminary. The web transformed into a brilliant lattice of light, spreading out to encompass all the remaining trapped ships at once. Now, Lisa's voice came through the comm. Full power. Everyone pull together. Every Earth ship, every luminary vessel, every power core and energy cell. Everything they had went into one massive effort. The space around them warped and twisted as the combined force of human and luminary technology fought against the gravitational anomaly. The swarm ships fired desperately, trying to break the web, but it was too late. With a flash of light that briefly outshone the distant sun, the remaining luminary ships broke free. But they weren't safe yet. The swarm fleet was regrouping, preparing for a final assault. Walker looked at his crew, saw the determination in their eyes. "All ships," he ordered, "prepare for close combat. We're not done showing the swarm what humans can do." The space around them had become a battlefield. Green energy beams from swarm ships crisscrossed with the blue plasma bolts from Earth vessels. The quantum tether web, still glowing from the massive rescue operation, created strange patterns of light through the chaos. "All ships, break into attack groups," Walker commanded. "Use pattern Echo 7. Don't let them surround us." The Earth fleet split into smaller squadrons of 5 ships each. The swarm commanders had expected the humans to retreat after the rescue, but instead, the Earth vessels charged forward, diving straight into the heart of the enemy formation. From her engineering vessel, Commander Reed watched the battle unfolding while her team worked to transform their rescue technology into a weapon. "The quantum tethers are still drawing power from the anomaly," she told Captain Walker over the comm. "We might be able to use that." "Whatever you're planning," Walker replied as his ship narrowly avoided a swarm beam. "Do it fast." The battle grew more intense. Earth ships darted between the massive swarm vessels like small fish around sharks. The swarm's superior weapons were deadly, but they had trouble targeting the agile human ships. Every time they tried to lock on, the Earth vessels would duck behind another swarm ship, causing the enemies to hit each other. "Groups 3 and 4, push them toward the anomaly," Walker ordered. "Group 2, cover their flanks." The human ships moved with perfect coordination, herding the larger swarm vessels into the region where the gravitational forces were strongest. The swarm commanders realized the trap too late. "Sir," Marcus called out from his engineering station, "look at their ships. The anomaly is affecting their shield harmonics." Lisa's eyes widened as she saw the readings. The same gravitational distortions that had trapped the luminary were now interfering with swarm technology. Their mighty shields were flickering, creating gaps in their defenses. "All ships," she broadcast, "target their shield generators. The anomaly is making them vulnerable." The Earth fleet responded immediately. Plasma bolts struck with surgical precision at the weakened points in swarm defenses. One by one, the massive enemy ships began losing their shields. But the swarm was far from defeated. They adjusted their tactics, clustering their ships together to combine their remaining shield power. Their counterattack was fierce, catching several Earth vessels in devastating crossfire. "We've lost the defender," someone shouted over the comm. "The Guardian's engines are critical." Walker gripped his command rail tightly. They were hurting the swarm, but taking heavy losses. They needed something more. That's when Lisa's voice cut through the battle chatter. "Captain, we've modified the quantum tethers. We can create a feedback loop in their shield network. But we'll need to get close, really close." "How close?" Walker asked, already guessing the answer. "Point-blank range," Lisa replied. "We have to extend the tethers directly onto their hull." Walker didn't hesitate. "All ships with working tether systems, form on my position. The rest of you, keep them distracted." The Sentinel led a group of 15 ships straight toward the heart of the swarm formation. Enemy fire intensified, but the human vessels pressed forward, protected by covering fire from their comrades. "Now," Lisa shouted when they were almost on top of the swarm ships. "Activate the tethers." The modified quantum tethers shot out, latching onto the nearest swarm vessels. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the energy from the gravitational anomaly, channeled through the human ships, surged into the swarm's shield network. The effect was catastrophic for the enemy. Their linked shields, designed to make them stronger, instead transmitted the overload from ship to ship. Explosions rippled through their formation as power systems overloaded. "Their fleet is breaking apart," Walker's tactical officer reported with excitement. "They're losing coordination. The swarm formations dissolved into chaos. Individual ships began to retreat, their carefully planned attack falling apart in the face of human adaptability and determination. More and more enemy vessels jumped away into faster-than-light travel, until only a handful remained. The final swarm ships turned to flee, but not before their commander transmitted one last message. "This is not over, humans. You have made an enemy today." Walker stood on his bridge, watching them go. Around him, the crew cheered as the last enemy ships disappeared. They had done it. Against overwhelming odds, humanity had faced its first major space battle, and won. "No," he said quietly to the departed swarm ships. "We didn't make an enemy today. You did." 3 days after the battle, the combined fleet of Earth and Luminary ships gathered in high orbit around Jupiter. The giant planet's swirling storms provided a magnificent backdrop as Captain Walker stood in the Sentinel's main conference room, facing the assembled Luminary High Council through a large view screen. The lead counselor's skin shimmered with patterns of gold and silver, a sign of deep emotion among their people. "We have existed for 10,000 years, the alien leader said, their translated voice filled with wonder. "We have met hundreds of species, yet none have shown the courage, creativity, and compassion that humanity displayed in coming to our aid." Walker shifted slightly, uncomfortable with such high praise. "We only did what any decent people would do." "No," another counselor spoke up. "Many would have ignored our distress call. More would have fled when the swarm arrived. Instead, your people risked everything to save those you had never met." The main counselor raised their four-fingered hand, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed Earth's solar system, then expanded to reveal hundreds of star systems beyond. "We offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Assembly," the counselor announced. "This includes sharing of all our technological knowledge, trade rights with all member species, and mutual defense agreements." A murmur of excitement went through the human officers present. This was more than anyone had hoped for. Full membership in the Assembly usually took decades to achieve. Commander Reed, standing beside Walker, couldn't help speaking up. "But we're so much less advanced than you. Our technology is different, not lesser," the luminary engineer she had worked with interrupted. "You took our quantum technology and adapted it in ways we never imagined. Your minds work differently. You see solutions where we see only problems." Lisa smiled, remembering how they had turned the rescue equipment into a weapon against the swarm. Human ingenuity at its finest. The meeting continued as details were discussed. The Luminary would establish an embassy on Earth, and humans would be welcomed on Luminary worlds. Trade would begin immediately, with the Luminary particularly interested in human art, music, and cultural exchanges. Later that day, Walker stood at the Sentinel's main viewport with Lisa, watching Earth ships and Luminary vessels moving together in a coordinated dance of space traffic. "Hard to believe it was just a week ago that we got that distress call," Lisa said. "Everything's changed now." Walker nodded. "The swarm is still up there. They'll be back, probably with new weapons and tactics. And we'll be ready," Lisa replied confidently. "The Luminary are already helping us upgrade our shields, and with their quantum technology combined with our ideas." She grinned. "The swarm won't know what hit them." A flash of light caught their attention. The Luminary ship was testing its newly repaired quantum drive, the energy patterns creating beautiful auroras against the backdrop of space. Several human ships flew alongside it, their crews learning from their new allies. "You know what impresses me most?" Walker said thoughtfully. "Not a single Earth ship left when I ordered the civilian vessels to retreat. They all stayed to help, knowing they might die." "That's what humans do," Lisa shrugged. "We stick together. We help others. Sometimes we're stubborn and argumentative, but when it really matters," she gestured at the fleet around them, "this is who we are." The next day, as the Luminary fleet prepared to depart for their homeworld, they performed a traditional ceremony of gratitude. Each of their ships released a pulse of energy that combined to form a spectacular light show visible from Earth's surface. Millions of humans looked up at the display, knowing that everything had changed. Humanity had faced its first major test as a spacefaring species and had proven itself not through superior technology or military might, but through courage, innovation, and an unwavering determination to help others. As the last luminary ship disappeared into quantum space, Captain Walker sent a final message to the fleet. Remember this day. This is just the beginning of humanity's journey among the stars. And he was right. In the years that followed, the story of how a young species from a small blue planet saved the mighty luminary fleet would be told in schools across the galaxy. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as heroes and innovators, ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store.